Whether you're trying to slow down after a high spending season, offset increasing inflation, or save so that you can meet some money goals this year, let's talk about some things you can do to pay less for everything this year. I'm Sarah, this is Budget Girl, let's go. Also, stay tuned to the end for a very exciting announcement. And thank you to Goodwill Houston for sponsoring this video. So I've made it my personal mission to find new and better ways to save and live a frugal life that doesn't feel like a sacrifice over the past almost 10 years on the internet. I paid off over $33,000 of debt on under $30,000 a year, and I now save and invest over half of my take-home pay, and I'm on track to being a millionaire before retirement. So let's jump in first and talk about some basic bills, starting with the cell phone. So I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but if you are paying more than $50 a month for your cell phone, you are drastically overpaying, and it's time to stop. There are some great budget companies that I promise you have the exact same coverage plans and service as the big companies without all of the fees and add-ons you're probably paying for. A little about how cell phone companies work. There are three big companies, T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, and I want you to consider those kind of like luxury brand names that you're going to pay more for. I'm sorry, but those contracts are never in your favor. It's time to swap to generic. I've been on a mobile virtual network operator plan for over 10 years. They're called MVNO plans. And honestly, they've never let me down. This just means that these companies don't have their own infrastructure or cell phone tower network, and instead they rent unused capacity from the big three's network. You do generally have to bring your own phone or purchase an unlocked phone model. The whole Sprint only, T-Mobile only phones are another way that these companies get you, because they want you to purchase those through theirs, finance them, and pay them off, and they offer you upgrades and stuff like that while really just increasing your bill month over month. Sometimes when you upgrade your phone, you're still paying off that old phone that you don't even have anymore, and your phone bill is just absolutely insane. It's time to own your phone. Buy an older model or a budget model and save up for something nicer. With the savings, you'll be able to rack up each month using a budget plan. None of this section is sponsored, so I'm just gonna give you like an overall realm of what might be best for you as far as budget models and how they work. Here are some great options to consider. Mint Mobile, which is famously owned by Ryan Reynolds, operates on T-Mobile's network and has plans as cheap as $15 a month. So this is what I currently have, and I currently pay $50 a month for unlimited text, talk, web, and I think it also does like hotspotting, and I pay in 90-day increments on autopay. I've had this service for about a year, and I can personally recommend it. Visible is a sub-brand actually owned and operated by Verizon as a budget alternative to their own service, which should say something about their regular service. Consumer Cellular is another good option. They have plans as low as $20 a month, and they do have limited data on those, so it's kind of meant for seniors, and they have very generous AARP discounts. Straight Talk is another great option. You can buy prepaid or per month plans, and I use them for years, most of this channel, with no issues. Boost Mobile is also an option that I haven't tried, but they have excellent reviews, and they advertise $25 a month. If you're on a family plan and need multiple lines, Google Fi and US Mobile both cater to up to 4 lines a month for $80 to $100 per month total. It is an absolute headache to switch cell phone providers, but it can save you significant money over the year and years. It's worth it. Let's talk on some other basic bills. Car insurance, another headache, but if you can suck it up, you can save hundreds or thousands of dollars by price comparing your insurance. I recommend doing this at least once a year because this is one of those bills that they'll kind of increase and hope that you don't notice during auto renewal. Use a company like Gabi.com, Gabi.com, to search the best insurance rate. Fair warning, if you put your phone number into one of these online cost compare generators for insurance, it will give that to a bunch of people from different companies who will start blowing up your phone. Use a fake number, don't put in your number, or just ignore your phone for a while. It's a headache, and they make it that way on purpose, but cross compare. The final basic bill we're going to cover is internet. This is another one where they're going to increase the cost on auto renewal and just hope that you don't notice. Go to your provider's site and see what their current new person discount is, and then call or help chat them and ask them to apply that to your account. If they say no, which honestly they shouldn't, threaten to go look at another company. They'll give you the discount. it's basically policy. Once they give you a better rate, it should lock in for 12 months or however long, and then repeat the process. I do this every single year with my internet provider, which is the only one in our area. And instead of spending close to $1,200 a month, I spend $80, which is the 1 year new customer discount. And I've been paying that for 4 years. Next up, commit to buying secondhand first whenever possible. New things like clothing, home goods, and decor are obviously priced higher than used items, and costs keep rising. More affordable things are often bad quality and don't last. I've been able to source some really amazing things for my home, like hand-carved wood furniture, beautiful stained glass, heavy pottery servingware, and essentially all of my decor from Goodwill. And I'm thrilled to say that Goodwill Houston is the sponsor of this video. Budget Girl, Goodwill, talk about a perfect partnership. Goodwill Houston has 50 stores and outlets across the greater Houston area and has all sorts of treasures just waiting to be found. Some of the favorite locations that Jacob and I like to frequent include Goodwill Houston's Heights, City Center, River Oaks, and Spring locations. I've found some really incredible things for great deals and showed you guys over the years. My actual first video that I did in 2023 was a haul from every thrift store I went to in Houston over the Christmas break, so how appropriate that I end this year working with them. And a little tip, I always get the comment that people can never find anything while thrifting and that my Goodwills are better than others, and I promise you that they are not. The trick is I go to a lot of them and I go often. It's honestly the secret to thrifting success. Inventory is changing constantly and they're always putting new things out. So if you go thrifting once or twice and don't have any luck, don't write it off. By dropping in my local Goodwills on a pretty regular basis, honestly about weekly, if not more, even just for like a quick scan through, I've been able to find everything I've basically sought out to. Even as a plus size person, I've been able to find name brand clothing. I just don't expect to hit the jackpot every time, and I shop off of a list so that I don't waste money. I told someone this once and it absolutely blew their minds, so hopefully it's helpful to you too. And also, I got this shirt from a Goodwill grand opening here last week. If you haven't ever been to a Goodwill grand opening, you should absolutely go because they give the first 100 people or so a 30% off coupon for that day. So this $7 shirt was 30% off. In addition to saving thousands of dollars, I'm also able to consume more sustainably and help both the planet and people in my community by shopping at Goodwill. Goodwill Houston provides many free programs and services that help people facing barriers to employment, including veterans, youth, the formerly incarcerated, people recovering from addiction, and more. By shopping at your local Goodwill, you can help change the lives of people in your community and help the world. Visit goodwillhouston.org today to find a Goodwill Houston store or outlet center near you via the link in my description. Next, let's talk about how to save money on food, which is usually one of the biggest, if not the biggest monthly expense for most households. First, if you aren't meal planning in some way, you're probably wasting money. I know exactly what it's like to come home after an exhausting day of work and have no spoons left to make decisions on what to eat or what to make. By meal planning, which for us is just listing about 5 meals that we have the ingredients for over the weekend, some that require more or less prep work or time to make, we can eat based off of how much energy we have and what we feel like that day. Don't trap yourself into thinking that a meal plan is going to pigeonhole you into having to eat certain things on certain days, even if you don't feel like making X, Y, or Z that night. Even a simple list of meals that you have in the freezer or in the pantry that can be made quickly can save you money when you're at that decision fatigue point and just can't really think of even what you have. And it's gonna save you money from ordering in. By the way, some of our meal plan meals include easy meal night, which could be macaroni and cheese, cereal, or ramen, or forage night, which means leftovers, air fryer food, or a girl dinner charcuterie plate, which is honestly delicious. Plan for the tired person that you are deep inside. It's absolutely cheaper and easier than DoorDash. Speaking of which, I'm sorry, but ordering in just isn't worth it anymore. Delivery fees plus third-party fees plus app fees plus tip, which is required in my opinion if you're not gonna go get the food yourself. If someone brings your food to you, you have to tip them. We just don't do it anymore. You end up paying a third to almost half of your food cost just to get it brought to you. And this is already on overpriced food for delivery. If you're on a budget, just strike this. Delete the apps, and if you plan to order food from restaurants, go get it yourself. And another thing, eating inside restaurants just isn't worth it for us anymore. And speaking of which, Dine in isn't something that we do anymore unless it's a really special occasion. If we want restaurant food, we order it to go and pick it up ourselves, which immediately saves us that 20% tip. And if you can't afford to tip, do not eat in at restaurants. And that brings me to a query. Do you tip on order pickup? Basically, all the restaurants these days ask for tips for those who work the pickup counter if you're picking up your own food. But I'm still divided on if that's really a tippable service. Workers say that they're still working on your order, but I think there's a big difference between taking food and putting it in a bag and handing it to you than spending an hour coming, refilling your drinks, bringing you your dishes, taking your dishes away, all of that stuff. Sometimes I'll throw $1 or $2 to the takeout person, but I am not, under any circumstances, going to tip 20% for pickup food. What do you think? For actual groceries, consider where you're shopping first to save money. If your go-to is Target, you're going to be paying more per item at that than you would a normal grocer. If you have an Aldi, a Save-A-Lot, or a Lidl, or even a Trader Joe's, consider shopping there first. And if it's further away than is reasonable for you to do on a weekly basis, consider like a monthly pilgrimage to stock up on the base items that you're going to use all the time that won't expire at a cheaper price. And a quick reminder that most store brands are just the brand name in a different packaging. And canned beans from a fancy brand versus the Walmart Great Value generic brand are the same beans inside most of the time. A few exceptions exist. You can pry my Hidden Valley Ranch from my cold dead hands, but knowing the exceptions and defaulting to generic will save you a ton of money over the long term and free up a little mental energy. Also, make sure to consider what items are in season when doing your meal planning and shopping. Buying a watermelon in December, for instance, is going to cost you 4 times what it would during the summer. And that's because of how far stores have to import fresh watermelon at certain times of year. I actually go over what's on sale and in season on a monthly basis in my monthly money guide series, which is a video series and also on budgetgirl.com, so you can go easily see what is going to be cheap in your store. And this is pretty much universal to the entirety of America. In those, I also outline the other things you might need to consider money-wise each month. Definitely check it out. I'll link them below. Next, avoid temptation on things that you know might cause you to spend by unsubscribing to marketing emails. Now, I'm not judging. I will give anyone my email if it means a temporary or one-off discount, but I always remember to unsubscribe after the fact. You can do this all at once by going to a site like unroll.me, which I recommend. You can also head these off by anytime you go to check your email, finding any spam mail that's come in over the last couple of days, opening it, clicking spam and unsubscribe, and then that'll kind of clear up your inbox and make it a little less overwhelming, just kind of moving forward. After a couple months, you probably won't see any emails at all. Next, shopping online is a necessity for most people, especially those who want to price compare, which I recommend. You can save money on most purchases by installing a browser discount tracker like Rakuten, and there are a handful of others, but I prefer that one personally. I've actually saved hundreds of dollars using it because it pops up when I'm looking at something that says, hey, this is cheaper somewhere else. And it also gives you cash back on purchases that you make when that browser is installed. Rakuten distributes cash back 4 times a year to your bank account, or they send you a check, or for me, it goes to my PayPal. I have used it for years to get cash back on the things that I have to purchase online anyway. And I've actually gotten over $2,000 doing this, which straight up, I usually use it as like fun money or free money, but you could use it for savings or goal progress or whatever is most important to you right now. I'm not sponsored by Rakuten, but I do have an affiliate friend code if you would like to sign up using below. Next, let's talk about saving money on tech. First, avoid upgrading your tech. When you snag the newest cell phone, gaming system, or computer, you're going to pay the most for that it will ever be. And if your current tech still works, it'll save you money to get as much use out of it as possible because you've already made that investment. When you do have to upgrade, consider buying a model that's a few years old. Not only will it be cheaper and the bugs will be worked out, but you can see reviews from people who have used it for years to figure out if it's a long-term quality product. You should also avoid financing things if at all possible. Obviously, if your phone gets shattered or your car gets totaled and you have no savings, you might have to finance or buy a super cheap model depending on what funds you have. But financing anything, whether it's a couch, clothing via Afterpay, a car, computer, it's simply going to cost you more than it would buying something outright. Monthly repayment bills are also a tax on your income, and it decreases your ability to save or fund an emergency. The goal should be as few bills as possible. Never purchase things with the intention of just trying to impress other people with your stuff. They probably don't really care. and you'll probably be paying for it long after they've forgotten the entire interaction. Honestly, I really don't think anyone cares what kind of car you drive, and if they do, that's a them problem. Next, if you are in good control of your finances and can trust yourself not to overspend, consider shifting all of your spending onto a rewards credit card. Now, the Dave Ramsey people are about to really balk at this, but if used responsibly, and responsibly means paying your entire balance every single month and never carrying a balance, then you can literally save a percentage on everything that you purchase with credit cards. Now, I'm not a credit card expert and I don't do anything like churn cards or buy points for discount vacations, but I do use a couple of cards with no annual fee for a percentage back on things that I'm going to buy anyway, like groceries, gas, general purchases, and I cash out those points every year to help fund my goals. I use my credit cards like they're debit cards, and I've convinced myself that they are, and I log the purchases into my budget every time I make one, like it came out of my bank account already. I have my credit card set to auto pay in full every single month, and I've been doing this since I became debt-free, and I have never paid a cent of interest. I could go harder on this, but honestly, I like my finances to be pretty simple and uncomplicated. And if I can just swipe one piece of plastic instead of another and get 2 to 5% off of everything, that works for me. If you are in credit card debt or have issues with impulse spending when you have credit cards, don't do this yet. Shelve it to the side until you are in a better financial place. Don't make life more complicated for yourself. And finally, if you have savings, you should have that in a high yield savings account to avoid that money losing some of its value, and also to avoid any banking fees that you might currently be paying. If you're hoarding money in a checking or savings account that isn't paying you, you're missing out on the opportunity to accrue interest. Right now, there are HYSAs that offer up to 5% or more interest, and frankly, that's a better rate than some investments are getting these days. It's a win-win. It keeps your money safe and accessible, and pays you a little bit on it so that you're at least trying to keep up with inflation. I'll link some of the HYSAs that I recommend below. I actually earn around $250 a month in interest on my HYSA, on my emergency fund and next property savings account that has about $60,000 in it. It's not nothing, but it's also something that I have to do nothing for. And with my history in debt, I am very savings motivated and I want to keep cash. I don't like being potentially cash poor. Now, because this video can only be so long, I'm gonna refer you guys to some articles on budgetgirl.com on how to save money on pets, in relationships, and so much more. And please allow me to encourage you that small money steps matter. Savings, even little bits, add up, and it contributes to a life more intentionally spent, and that's more satisfying and less stressful. You can live the life that you want and work up to getting anything that you truly value. It's usually a matter of planning, telling yourself not yet, and being patient. I promise you that good things will come. Also, a quick announcement. I am now under contract on a new house. This will be my second duplex and second house hack. I've been in this duplex, since May of 2020, and I've been waiting not so patiently for the right deal, the right price, the right location, and I just can't wait to share this entire new journey with you guys, getting this place prepped for a renter, moving into the new place, doing renovations on it, and of course sharing all of the numbers and the nitty-gritty with you guys. I do have to say this one was absolutely worth the wait and worth getting outbid and declined on other offers in places that I'd fallen in love with over the past couple of years. I'm just so excited it's finally happening. It still doesn't feel quite real yet. I can't wait to take you guys along the new journey with me. And also don't forget to subscribe for more real people, money, and wealth building content. No get rich quick schemes in sight. We're gonna get rich, but we're gonna do it slowly. See y'all next time, and Happy New Year if I don't see you.